are live. Cindi, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Gabe?
I'm doing fantastic. Where are you calling from today?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. I have wanted to go there. I have yet to go. I've heard great things though. Although the summers I've heard are just, it's a tough one if you're not familiar with humidity.
Yes, it is. It is. You've heard the term hot Atlanta, which I heard that only tourists say that, but so I have to stop saying it now that I live here. But it is. It can be very hot and humid. But I moved from Arkansas, so not a huge change. But it's a great city. You should make it a priority to visit.
Absolutely, absolutely. To get us started here, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and how you got into real estate in the first place.
I'm from Arkansas, grew up in a small town, Cabot, Arkansas, and have lived there most of my life until recently. And I got into real estate. I was a dental hygienist, and then my husband was a home builder, and we had been investing in properties for several years. And that's a whole story that we can circle back around to. But I left my hygiene career and I had young kids at home, wanted to be a little more flexible. And so I worked in our office, and he was building 100 houses a year and
Wow.
had developed a niche for first time home buying market, and was developing the land and also new home warranties. We're always dealing with that. So I dealt with that. And then we had our rental units, and I started doing property management for the rental properties that we had. And when he became licensed, we opened a real estate company in 1998 and hired a broker. And then once he became licensed as an agent, then told me that I really should. So I went to get my real estate license kicking and screaming. Said I would never work with buyers and sellers, that I was just doing that because I had to, and just wasn't something that I was interested in. So I went and I just tried to get through the course to pass the test and wasn't very happy about it. I've now been licensed since 2002 and a broker since 2010, and I absolutely still love real estate.
I
So
love it.
that gets us started.
I love it. I love it. That is that's that's great. So you got started, way whenever back when you and your husband, you guys were buying single families as rentals, and your husband, 100 unit developments. That's nothing to laugh at. That's a big undertaking right there.
Well, and once again, when we started buying mobile homes. Our
Oh,
very first property real estate investment was in a little bitty tiny town, and it had five very old mobile homes on a small parcel of land, and they paid weekly rent.
wow.
So that's how we got started. That's all we could afford. And we had a business partner. And so we started there, and then that grew and started buying other mobile home parks, and until we could build up enough capital to start, investing in single family homes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that about you coming on here. Me and my partners, we actually we do mobile home parks, and so
Okay.
I didn't know we had that commonality. That's great.
We actually, at one point, even opened a new mobile home dealership and did
Wow.
that. And I became a licensed insurance agent at that time. I've done a lot of things in my life, but
That
that's
was my
real estate. So
that's so it sounds like you've had your experience has crossed the gamut when it comes to real estate. But
really
so
have.
now you've gone through all of that. You have had great experience, and now you're back. You're being a broker, helping first time home buyers, second time home buyers, investors get into houses and buy houses, and you're in love with it.
Yes,
All right, sounds good.
absolutely. Yeah. Been worked the gamut from every type of property you can think of and every type of buyer. I've even done a few commercial deals, but in Arkansas, because it's rural, you can do that a little more, so, but I don't say that I'm really a commercial agent. I've just done a couple of small commercial deals.
Well, that's still experience. You still that's something under the belt right there for
Yeah,
sure.
I can speak the language a little bit. So there we go.
There
Mm.
you go. So before the show, you were telling me that you represent a lot of real estate investors as a broker. So, I mean, there's a ton that we can go into in your previous experience. It sounds like you have a lot to share, a lot of wisdom to part with other people. But kind of let's go into your broker side. Tell me, when a real estate investor, you know, say there's some new investors listening to this show and they want to figure out how to get into real estate investing and how to find that first home. So if they were to go to a broker, like what should they be looking for? How do they select the right broker? And how do they know they're working with somebody who understands investing and investors' mindset?
So the very first thing, and I through the years have had many, many calls from people saying, "Hey, I want to invest in real estate." That's great. Okay, so let's get started. And I'll start asking them questions, which goes to answer one of your questions. How do they know that they found the right broker? So I'm asking them questions like, "Okay, what are you looking for?" And they start talking to me, and I can tell pretty quick how seasoned they are or if they're new. If they're new, then I'm saying, "Okay, how are you going to pay for it?" "Well, we think we're going to do." Okay, I said that's not good enough. So before they even choose a broker, new investors have to figure out their financing, and that can be anywhere from they may have get a HELOC, a home equity line of credit on their own home to buy that first property. They can go to a bank that they have a relationship with and build a line of credit some other way. They may be able to get financing through, there's certain financing options that will allow you to have up to so many properties. Even VA loans will allow you to have an investment property. So there are different avenues, but those need to be explored so that hurdle has been crossed, because new investors think that the first step, as well as sometimes new homeowners, we got to find the right deal first. But you've got to know how you're going to pay for that, because if we find that right deal, you've got to be ready to hop and ready to jump on it quickly, especially in today's market. And if you are not ready and we can't make that offer, strong offer, and saying, and here's how it's going to be paid for, then they're getting the cart before the horse. And that's only going to set them up for frustration and basically not getting the properties that they want, because nobody's going to wait for them to go get their financing. And right now, even as of late with the pandemic, that some of the first ways that mortgage companies will start to kind of tighten up when something like this happens is in the investor realm. So they'll start to tighten up and require more capital, more everything for those new investors. So this is not something that you can just wake up one day and decide that you want to start investing in real estate. You can do that, but you've got to know that it is a process, and it's very important to do those things in the right order. So hopefully once I tell them that, then they're going to know that I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to guide them in the right direction instead of just start showing them properties and then we can't get offers accepted because they don't know they're going to pay for it. So that's the very first thing. Another thing is for them to learn. And there are so many ways out there now to learn. Now, you can't believe everything. Everything on the internet's not true, Gabe. I don't know if you know that or not, but I'm just saying but there are plenty of people, like, for example, here in Atlanta, there are meetup groups, and there is several investor groups, and they're just some investors have been in the business for years, and they're wanting to share their knowledge with people. So there are plenty of ways that you can learn about investing, and that's what you should do, so that you know what your plan looks like and what kind of portfolio do you want to build. What does this look like, not just today, but in 5 years and 10 years down the road?
I love it. There was a lot of good advice there, a lot of good gems, especially when it comes to financing. I mean, I know myself, when I was first getting started, I ran into that issue a lot. I was focused on finding the deal, which is super important. I mean, you definitely have to find the deal, but when you don't have the financing lined up, and you try to close the deal. You try to find the deal first. A lot of times that will make the deal fall through. So that's very good advice. Okay, so you mentioned financing is one of the first things that they should be doing. But once they have financing in place, what would a new investor, or even a seasoned investor, I suppose, how do you make your offers stronger? I mean, even today I have I run into not problems, but I'll put offers on 50 houses, and maybe 2 of them are going to be actually closed. So how does somebody go about making their offer stronger, and what does that look like?
I love that question, because in the foreclosure world, I say I cut my teeth in the foreclosure world because it was just baptism by fire, and the volume was just incredible, and you had to learn,
Uh-oh.
or you just learned that niche. And what I learned, I still use today. Is that a for? Oh, just okay.
Yep, there you go. Now you're back.
No, okay. One thing that I learned that still really helps me today, whether it's investors or owner occupants, is strategy. And so that's what you're talking about. And if there was one thing besides the financing, as far as finding the right broker to use, it needs to be someone with experience that can strategize to help you to get your offer accepted. Now, that doesn't mean that every single deal will be accepted, but in the foreclosure world, I mean, we had lots and lots of offers, and it's a competition. And I mean, that makes my heart just beat fast and the adrenaline pumping, because I want to win. I want to win, make that work.
That's the right attitude to have in that environment, for sure.
So you start thinking outside the box. And actually, I train my team. I have a team in Arkansas and Georgia, and we train together. And this week, our training was titled Thinking Outside the Box. And it's because we are having more and more multi-offers, and I know investors are, but also in the residential world. And you better learn how to deal with them, because your clients are going to get frustrated if they're not ever getting the deal. Now, like I said, you can't win every one, but you better have somebody that knows some things to do that can set your offers apart. So the strategy of it, not just putting an offer in, but what does this look like? You got to look at it from the seller's perspective. What's going to make them net the most money, the least amount of time, the least amount of hassle, because that's what they're looking for. And so you need to make it as easy on them as possible. And that's how you can make a strong offer. And of course, there are lots of things that can come into play, but just being able to think and put a strategy together, it's best.
I like it. So I like something that you just said there. You said most amount of money, least amount of hassle, least amount of time. And that those 3 little levers are the things that you pull to make your offer stronger or weaker, depending on what you're doing. That's really good. And so when it comes to dealing in foreclosures, I know you just said that you've already gone through that world as kind of a baptism by fire. Kind of take us into that world, into your experience there. What is it like if somebody were to want to get into foreclosures? What's the best way to go about doing it, and just kind of take us through your experience there?
So first of all, the foreclosure inventory right now is very low across the country. Now, we're hearing rumblings that will increase a little bit, possibly after the pandemic. We're not sure about that. Nobody really is. But the thing is, you've got to be ready. Once again, the key is really being ready. So when they hit the market, then the offers can be put in. Of course, having somebody that knows the system, let's say HUD, for example, when they put their properties on, they want owner occupants. So usually the first so many days are only for owner occupants. And then if it's not purchased, then, after so many days, then knowing that the investors can start then. And once again, that's knowing exactly when that is going to be by reading the websites and knowing how they operate. So once it's available, you have your offer in there. It's ready, and it's one of the first ones to be in there because they are all time stamped in their computer systems and all. The other thing is knowing how the processes work. So in foreclosures, like HUD and Fannie Mae and all them, I explain it like this, it's not really like dealing with real people. It's like dealing with systems. Okay. So like, I'll use HUD, but I know that after so many days, then it opens up to investors once it hits their website. And then after so many days, if there aren't any offers, then they're going to have price reduction and what that looks like. And then, so once again, it's about strategy and being able to figure out, hey, they're wanting to offer lower, but yet, you may either have to wait or go ahead and put it in and see when that price drop is. So knowing how they operate and the systems is going to be something that's very important to being able to get those foreclosure deals. And now there's a lot of auction properties out there, and I've dealt with all of those. And, it's timing on a lot of it. It's just timing. And you got to just keep your finger on the pulse and know when the time is right for you to strike.
So it really does, it pays to partner up with a broker such as yourself, who's familiar with the process, who knows how to go through that, and et cetera. That's good.
Yeah, exactly right.
So I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit. This is a shorter podcast. We do 20 to 30-minute segments. So I'm gonna push us into another direction here. We've kind of heard about your experience or your experience in the past, what you're doing now as a broker. So I want to hear a little bit more of the stories that you've gone through. So we all know that real estate, it's a roller coaster. You got your ups, you got your downs, both financially and emotionally. Take us to kind of a lower point in your career and the struggles that you went through there, and give us like the best lesson that you learned from that experience.
Okay, well, I'd say for me, one of the biggest, I love the foreclosure world so much, and just the rush of it, that the transitioning from that was difficult for me. And I had made the statement numerous times that after the foreclosure boom was over, that I may get out of real estate. Obviously I didn't, and I'm really glad I didn't, but just kind of slowing down to dealing with traditional buyers and sellers was it was a difficult process for me, just because I like to, how many offers can I get in today, and just all of that.
Like
and yeah, I loved all that. And being so exhausted at the end of the day that you just, it's all you can do just to make it home. But I love that just keeps me fueled. And so that's been difficult. Then the other, probably most difficult thing has been moving to a complete new market where I didn't know anyone, because being from Arkansas, living there my entire life, and building a business in a small town where I knew everyone. And even though we expanded to Little Rock, which is a larger city, it wasn't very far away. So I always had those connections and referral base and all of that. And so now I have uprooted and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I really know no one. And then as soon as I got here, pretty much then the world shut down. So
oh, man.
Yeah, so that's been difficult to have to go back and re-enter into basically new marketing, because I had marketing from an established company in business. And even though I'm still there in Arkansas and still have a presence and a team and all of that, but I'm transitioning and starting all over. But there's also a big challenge to that, and I just, I was looking for a challenge, and that's why I wanted to expand my business to a bigger market and see what that's like. I mean, because I got lots of years left and lots of energy left, and I still want to keep growing and growing my business and just seeing what that's like. So even though it's been difficult, it's been a challenge that I'm still glad that I've undertaken that challenge.
I like it. I like it. So I'm kind of you were in Arkansas, you were building your business there, and then you've just recently moved over to Georgia. And, that's kind of a difficult transition there, but it sounds like the lesson is that, new experiences, new challenge, they give you energy, and you just got to push through it until you get onto that peak, onto the next updraft.
Absolutely. And the things that I'm learning here also can relate to my team in Arkansas. And so that's been great for me too, because they do business a little different here, but it opens my eyes to even more opportunities. And like I said, that strategy, I may learn something here that was never done in Arkansas, but that doesn't mean it can't be, and vice versa. So one thing that's kind of funny to me is when you come to a new market, I've learned that people like to tell you because I'm a questioner, because I want to learn. So when I question it, sometimes the answer is, well, because that's how it's done in Georgia, or that's how it's done. And so some of my questions haven't been taken with the intent of I'm just trying to learn here, but that I'm trying to, kind of buck the system. And that's not the case. I want to know why. It's kind of
Yep.
like your kids when you say, because I said so, I mean,
It's not a good enough answer.
no. And so I want to know why things are done, primarily because that's kind of my personality. But also I want to teach my team. When they ask me why, I have to be able to explain that to them. So,
Absolutely.
so that's been really a really great thing, is learning how things work differently and being able to bring that together and benefit both sides,
I
love
love it.
where I am. Yeah. And I hope to
So,
expand to other states too. So I'll just be this big wealth of knowledge.
and each state is completely different when it comes to, I mean, especially for investors, when it comes to like tenant laws, et cetera. I mean, it's definitely a transition going from state to state. So I commend you on that challenge there.
Thank you.
So we went into the trough now. Now take us to the peak. What is it that you love about real estate? What gets you up in the morning? Like why are you still in the game? You've been in it for, it sounds like over 20 years, and you're still going strong.
That's easy. It's the people. It is the people. The real estate, whether it's whatever type of buyer, seller it is, they're people. And at the end of the day, it is just that sharing of information, that getting to know. It is a relationship business. And so many of my clients have become friends. And that's what I love about it, is the people. I've trained my team. I say, if you keep it about the people, the money will come. And whether, I don't care if you're buying a mobile home or if you're buying a $2 million house, it still is about the people. One story that I have is a client that I had sold their daughter a house, and so they called me, and I sold them a house, and then they came to me after they moved in and everything, and they said, would you sell our mobile home in this very small town? And said, I don't know if you do things like that. I mean, I know you're so busy and all, and I don't know if you would, take that on. And I'm talking, it was probably, I think it was either 25,000.
Oh,
And
wow.
I said to them, absolutely, I will. And so I got the deal done, and found this wonderful family that was, I got to represent them too, so I represented both sides. And what the coolest part about it was, the couple that was selling the home, she cried when that home sold, because she said that was their first home.
Oh,
And there were
wow.
so many memories made there, that it was their first home. And then the new family moving in, they were moving into their first home. And I mean, how cool is it? I mean, what a privilege that I got to be a part of that. And you know what? Yeah, it wasn't a huge transaction, but it was worth it. And I'll continue to do that stuff. And I've actually been criticized somewhat about, well, I can't believe you just take on everything. And I don't take on everything, but when you keep it about the people, then that's what makes me get up in the morning and love what I do and continue to do that day after day.
I love it. I've that same sentiment has kind of been echoed across all the different episodes and guests that we've had on the show. Is that real estate? It really is a relationship, a people business. So you gotta. I mean, that's why you're here. Obviously, you know, you make money along the way, but really at the end of the day, it's about getting people in houses and making relationships. So I love that one. So Cindi, we are almost towards the end here. But I want to hear one more piece of advice from you. I mean, you've had a career that spanned, you know, many years in every single niche you can possibly think about in real estate. So if you were to go back to that Cindi back in Arkansas so many years ago and give her one piece of advice going forward in real estate, what would that piece of advice be?
Don't get my feelings hurt so easily. And I've learned that now a lot. But when I started, because I'm just like, you know, when I would make a phone call, it's just to a potential friend on the other side, right? I mean, when you're making calls, you don't know who you're going to talk to, but they're a potential friend. And so I'm very friendly and outgoing and but if I ran across different personality types that weren't like me, and you know, then I got my feelings hurt. So I learned the DISC personality, that whole assessment thing. A lot of people are familiar with, and that truly was a game changer for me because I realized that just because someone isn't as wordy as I am, and they're very direct and to the point, which a lot of investors are, by the way, that doesn't mean that they don't like me or don't want to work with me or whatever. It is just a different personality type. And I think had I learned that earlier on, I would have just saved myself some hurt feelings and maybe tears and things like that in the beginning, where I just was, you know, felt like everybody should be that have the same personality that I do. So learning to gauge that, it has been really a game changer for me.
I like that. That's really good advice. I can't remember when it was, but I took one of those personality tests a long time ago. And it kind of did the same thing for me. It kind of opened my eyes. Cause you always, you know, you see the world through your own personality and you kind of think everybody, you know, operates the same as you do, but it's just not the case. So being able to understand people from their perspective, not from yours. I mean, that is very important, especially, I mean, when you said it yourself, you don't want to get your feelings hurt because a lot of times people aren't intending to be rude. They're just operating differently. So that's good advice. Okay, so we are at the end here. I mean, you need things too. So if somebody could bring you something, what would you like for them to bring you?
Business. Bring me business. Yeah.
Business.
Just,
all right. So
you know, refer me to somebody. I'll take good care of them. And yeah, just whether it's investor, whether it's you know, somebody buying or selling or whatever it is, then yeah, send them my way and I'll be happy to help them.
sounds good. And on that note, if we have some investors here listening or watching who want to start investing in the Atlanta market, or it sounds like Arkansas, and they wanted to get a hold of you to help them find a good house, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
My phone number, you can call or text me at 501-920-8111. Websites are homesforsaleinarkansas.net and atlantahomes.io. And if you really just Google Cindi, Cindi, if you just Google my name, then I'm pretty easy to find. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Those are some good URLs there. That's I mean,
Yeah,
that'll
more too, but those are the main ones. So.
rank pretty high, yeah, for sure. And I will also be putting her LinkedIn page in the show notes. So if you want to get in contact with Cindi, go ahead and check out the comments, and you can get in contact with her there. So Cindi, thank you very much for hopping on here. I know I can speak to everybody listening and watching that we appreciated all the wisdom that you shared with us today. So thank you for getting on here. And for everybody listening and watching, you know how to get in contact with Cindi. Check out her LinkedIn. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.
Thanks, Gabe. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Investing Club. If you've watched this far, I'm sure you've gotten a little bit of value out of this. So we would appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up, share it with your friends or family, whatever it may be. And if you'd like to share or partner with us on a deal, we absolutely love partnering on deals and are always looking for quality projects. Go to www.therealestateinvestingclub.com to get in contact with one of our partners. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.